Well, Steve, thank you very much. And thank you for everybody being here. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, because I want you to hear me. Because this next question is very important. Who here wants to fire Chuck Schumer? Well, the first step to firing Chuck Schumer is to beat Jackie Rosen in November. And the first step to beating Jackie Rosen is you all have to get me over the finish line in the primary next week, June 11th.
Absolutely.
So I'm Tony Grady, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for Nevadans and Americans. Then I'm going to give you a little bit of background so you understand why I'm running. And then I'm going to tell you why I'm the guy that can beat Jackie Rosen. And I hope at the end of all of this that I will have earned your vote. So the things that we need to do for Nevada and for Americans is we need to close the border, because without a border we don't have a country.
Absolutely.
We need to get back to being energy independent by opening Keystone Pipeline, drilling an Air and giving out real leases to the energy companies, because that will make everything in the supply chain go down when we make energy prices go down, and we will start to address inflation, which is killing us.
Yeah.
And then we need to get the United States back to its proper place in the world stage, because when the United States leads, instead of reacting like the Democrats are doing, rubber stamped by Jackie Rosen, there's more peace in the world. So that's what I'm going to do. But I got to prove to you that I can do that. So in order for me to prove that to you, you need to learn about me. To know about me, you need to know about my parents. My parents were born poor in the Jim Crow South, run by Democrats. They had benefactors that helped them get to college. Dad became a vocational education professor. Some of you know it by industrial arts, other people by the word shop. So he ended up teaching in historically black colleges for a few years, was recognized for his good work, and was tapped to go into foreign service, to go around the world and help developing nations build their vocational schools. That's important because it helped me live in Africa when I was little and graduate from high school in Bangkok, Thailand.
Wow.
So ladies and gentlemen, I have seen the United States from the outside and the inside. I have seen communism, I have seen socialism, and we don't want any of that here.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my experience made me patriotic, and I went to the Air Force Academy, and I became a pilot, and I became a test pilot.
Cool.
I commanded the B-2 stealth bomber test program, $24 billion program. So, how many of you remember the $6 million man?
Yeah.
Are you him? No. With inflation, he's probably the $6 billion man now. So, but the reason I bring that up is that test piloting is dangerous. The lead in a little clip that you saw in the $6 million man was an M2 F2 lifting body that crashed on landing. So of course that was the background for Lee Majors becoming the $6 million man. But the real test pilot lost half his head and an eye.
Oh.
So test piloting is dangerous. But all of you want our airmen to have the best equipment they possibly can to go to war, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what we do in test piloting. We're the folks that take the theoretical, they bend metal, and then we actually go out and fly it. So I want to say that the B-2 program was a very expensive program at $24 billion. Safe and successful, nobody died. A high point of my Air Force career. So I also worked in the Pentagon. I was the president's expert on bombers. I actually wrote language that appeared in appropriations bills. So I'm the only Republican running that has worked in D.C. and has experience with the budget and knows how the budgetary process works, or more importantly, doesn't work. So, 20 years in the Air Force. I'm a 20-year Air Force veteran. When I retired, I went to work for FedEx, and I worked for FedEx for 20 years.
Wow.
And while I was at FedEx, I started my own biotech company that I ran for 11 years, put my capital at risk, had my head handed to me, learned a lot, and learned how government regulations can affect small business. But now that I've got your attention, and I do have everybody's attention, we have to talk about the most important thing. I have been married to the same woman for 40 years. And there she is. She's put up with me. So we have 4 children. Now I know some of you are parents. So I have to ask, do children listen? No. Well, mine don't either. I already told you that I went to the Air Force Academy, right? Well, the oldest went to Annapolis. And the baby went to West Point. Because they don't listen. And then in the middle, we have a molecular biologist, and we have one that's been running her own personal training company for 7 years. My children are successful, but the reason I bring it up is not to dote on them, but for this. I know how to help children be successful, and we need to elect leaders that want all American children to be successful.
Amen.
So that's the most important thing to know about me, because that's what I will be thinking of when I serve as your next United States Senator. So, how did a guy who was living in Dayton, Ohio at the time, raising 4 kids, get to Nevada? Well, 42 years ago, I deployed to my first Red Flag. Red Flag is a mock air war that's flown out of Nellis Air Force Base down in Las Vegas. So I like to say that 42 years ago, I flew over Nevada at 600 miles an hour. Now I walk the trails of Nevada at about 2 miles an hour on a good day. So that's how I became familiar with Nevada, and I deployed 4 different times over my Air Force career. So when I was in my final years at FedEx, we were moving out of Dayton, Ohio, because it doesn't have sun, and we wanted to go somewhere that has sun. And we were looking at Texas, but a buddy of mine who is a Fallon rancher said you should really look at Reno. So we came and we house hunted for 3 years. We liked the mountains. We liked the high desert. But what sealed the deal were the people. So we moved to Reno. So now I'm in Reno. And when you're in Reno, you have to go to where? The championship air races. So when I went to the air races, I'm looking at this guy and I go, I know you. He goes, I know you. Turns out to be Kevin Roll, one of my 1977 classmates from the Air Force Academy that was racing jets. So he took me over to the jet tent and I met the other jet racers. And then I ran into Rick Vandam, who has air race royalty because he's won the championship in many different classes, sports class, jet class. He's like a real guy. Anyway, he's talking to me and he says, do you know my brother, Dave? And I go, yeah, I know your brother, Dave. He was in my squadron at the academy. I would soon find out there were 7 of my Air Force Academy classmates that lived in Reno, and one of them was even in my neighborhood. So Nevada is truly home. So the air races found out I was a test pilot, and they said, we need an air boss. Can you do that? I didn't know what an air boss did, but because I'm a pilot and I'm not, how should I say, ego challenged, I said, yeah, I can do that. Be careful what you ask for. So I ended up serving for the air races for 4 years. The last 2, I was the air boss. Safe and successful during the time I was the air boss. Very proud of that. Thank you. The other thing I did is because I had experience with running my own company, UNR had me help out with their incubator in terms of businesses that had been in business less than 5 years. Through the air races and through working with UNR and also tutoring my Fallon Rancher's friend's daughter in high school in math, I discovered that the high-tech companies that Nevada wants to attract, especially northern Nevada, that Nevada's out of sync because we're not training that workforce. And that's what motivated me to get into politics. That's why I ran for lieutenant governor. Because the lieutenant governor is the point man in Nevada for business. And I wanted to be the governor's eyes and ears of what we needed to do to train the workforce. So that's how I got into politics. So I wanted to let you know that my entire life has prepared me to serve as your next U.S. Senator. I have experience in foreign policy, military strategy, and in the use of economics and the economic instrument of power. So I know that I can beat Jackie Rosen because of these things. When I ran for lieutenant governor, and I ran against a guy who's been in politics for 30 years here, I got edged out in the primary by 5.8%, 7,000 votes. I won 13 of the 17 counties.
Wow.
So, doing that well, I knew that I had rudimentary name recognition. And because of my skill set, because of what I'm able to do and what I'm experienced in, I realized that I lined up with the United States Senate. So that's why I'm running for the Senate. So I can beat Jackie Rosen because I'm qualified, but Jackie Rosen is a poor leader. I have been in every county since I have declared for U.S. Senate. When I went through Eureka County, Sheriff Jesse Watts relayed to me that he goes to Washington, D.C. on a regular basis to talk about law enforcement issues. One of the times when he was there, he asked Jackie Rosen for a meeting and she refused. So I want you to get your head around this. The chief law enforcement officer of a Nevada county was refused by the sitting senator for a meeting. Also, a Nevada constituent was refused by a sitting senator for a meeting. That is poor leadership. I guarantee if you take the long trip to come out to Washington, D.C., and I can't see you, somebody in my office is going to see you. And oh, by the way, I already told you I worked in D.C., so there's only one time worth coming. That's during Cherry Blossom Festival. So don't come any other time, okay? But on a serious note, I know that I can beat Jackie Rosen because I'm a better leader. The Democrat policies are causing Nevadans to have to spend $11,400 more a year than before the Democrats took over. And Jackie Rosen has voted for the Inflation Reduction Act. She's voted for the budget. She has voted for those things that are killing Nevada families. So I want you to elect me to get me in there so I can change all that. And so it's really important that you understand that. But also, I want you to remember that the largest voting bloc in Nevada are independents. They're about 40% now. Of all the Republican candidates, I am going to appeal to more non-traditional Republican voters. So, because I have experience in military strategy and the use of the military instrument of power, in foreign policy and the use of the diplomatic instrument of power, and how to use the economic instrument of power and how they fold into grand strategy, which ensures the existence of the United States in the future, those things coupled with Jackie Rosen being a poor leader are why I can beat Jackie Rosen. It has been written up in the newspaper, and if you've ever heard of him, Chuck Muth is a political commentary columnist, and he said that Tony Grady has a skill set that none of the other candidates in the Republican side can touch.
Fantastic.
So I am the best. And if we truly are Republicans, conservatives, and we want to beat the Democrats, we've got to put our best up against them.
That's right.
That's right.
So we need to think about that. And I want to earn your vote. So if you seriously want to fire Chuck Schumer and get control back to the Republicans, I need you to do three things. I need you to pray for me. I need you to vote for me. And I need you to go to Grady4Nevada.com. That's Grady, F-O-R, Nevada.com, and donate to me so that I can execute this campaign the way I need to. Now, when you go to Grady4Nevada.com, give me all of your silver, all of your gold, no firstborn children. I already have one of those. I'm Tony Grady, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. Aim high, Nevada.